All right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to start a wonderful and exciting class. And this is the first time I've given this publicly. I've spoken about this in the past, but this is a one-of-a-kind class talking about an ancient wisdom called Chochmat HaPartzuf. Now, I know we have a mix of people in the audience. Some people are very versed in Kabbalah. Some are not so versed in Kabbalah. So we're going to talk in very layman's terms. So bear with us if you already know this. And we're going to look at the sources of where this comes from. We know there's a lot of different religions that have this tradition, face reading. I'm not a bucky in all those, the Asians and the Eastern and Western, the way they do it. But we'll look at our tradition as Jews and see where it comes from and how can we use it. So I'm going to share my screen. I've put together some slides. I think you'll find them interesting. So I'm just going to pause this for a second. Okay, so let's continue. I'm sharing my screen over here. We're going to go into full view over here. That was in full view. Start from the beginning. Okay. So again, my name is Rabbi Yosef Chaim Mimran. Those who don't know me. I give a lot of classes on Kabbalah, and if you want to follow us on our YouTube channel, it's called Yeshivat Hachen. Yeshivat Hachen is our YouTube channel. We have also a website, www.yeshivathachen.com, where you find a lot of different very interesting. Last class I gave was on the UFOs, extraterrestrial life, where they belong in the Torah, according to our Kabbalistic tradition, and the age of the universe, and other very interesting classes. So if you want more information about Kabbalah on a modern terms, follow us there. Okay, so let's start. Now, I'm sure you have a lot of questions about Chochmat HaPartzuf. Chochmat HaPartzuf, that's a Hebrew translation for face reading. Now, I don't like to use that word face reading because the way we view Chochmat HaPartzuf is different than the other religions. We find it that it's a very holy wisdom. We call it a wisdom, very deep, holy wisdom. And I'm going to explain to you how it works according to Kabbalah in very brief terms, very layman terms. So I'm sure some of these questions, I'm sure you have more questions, but I listed 5 that I think are the main questions that people usually ask. First of all, does it work? Is it authentic? Is it not authentic? And is it applicable nowadays? Can we actually come out from this class and look at somebody and say, wow, I can tell everything about this person? That's question number 1. Question number 2, even if it does work, am I worthy? Who am I? Don't you have to be like a big rabbi or a Kabbalist to know this? I get this question all the time. Am I worthy enough to learn the secret wisdom of Chochmat HaPartzuf? Number 3, why was this deep wisdom revealed? What was the point? To impress people? And number 4, what are the benefits of learning this wisdom? Is it worth taking the time and really studying this? Or is it just fascination? And 5, what are the sources? Where does this come from exactly? Where is this coming from and where is this going to? So let's answer these questions. Now, number 1, is it applicable nowadays? And I can tell you, yes, it is. Does it work? 100%. 100%. Now, when you look at somebody, hopefully after this, it's going to be a series of classes. I don't think we'll be able to manage. We're only going for an hour here, but after these series of classes, or even maybe after the first class, you would be already able to look at somebody, have a good idea what type of person this is. Okay, and what you can do with this wisdom is phenomenal. You can even tell probable futures. What I mean probable, I'm not talking about definite futures. Probable futures mean according to the trajectory of where the person is going with these character traits and his way of learning and the way he is, that you would be able to see where he's going with that and know about his past. It definitely 100% does work. Now, why was this deep wisdom revealed? And what are the benefits? So let's talk about why was it revealed and how does it work exactly? So I'm going to talk a little bit of Kabbalah over here. Now, in Kabbalah, it starts off what we have, what's called the Ein Sof. The Ein Sof we're explaining now how this Chochmat HaPartzuf works. How does it work exactly, the Chochmat HaPartzuf? It works by the Ein Sof. The Ein Sof is what we call, that's the original where the Kabbalah starts talking about the infinite light. Now, in the infinite light, we have what's called the paradigms, the 10 paradigms. Now, these 10 paradigms are paradigms which starts from the head all the way downwards. That's how we describe them. We describe them in 3 different parts called Chochma, Bina Das, which is Chabad, Chagat, which is Chesed, Gvur, Tiferet, and then the 3rd section is called Netzach Hod Yesod. You probably heard about these already. Those are the 10 paradigms. The head again is Chochma Bina Das, that's called Chabad. The body is Chesed, right arm, left arm, Gvura, and the body is Netzach, that's called Chagat in short. And the last part of the paradigm is Netzach Hod Yesod, right leg, left leg. Okay, and that is called the Nahi. Okay. Now, these 10 paradigms, again, you have to understand they are all spiritual power sources created within the Ein Sof. Now, this Ein Sof, which has the 10 paradigms, is a creating force. It creates us. We are fashioned in that likeness. These 10 paradigms create not only the body of a person, but also it is the source of the neshama of a person. Okay, I'm talking about in general terms. Now, the easiest way I can explain to you is as follows. Let me give you a mashal. Let me give you an example. So, if you were to put your hand down and you take a flashlight, now when you put the flashlight to your hand, it will reflect on the wall as a shadow, right? So now you have a situation where you have your hand and you have an image of your hand on the wall. Now, which one is correct? What is the real hand? Is it the one on the wall or is it the one you're holding in front of your face? Well, that's obvious, the one you're holding in front of your face. Now, you might think that's a pretty silly question. Well, we make the mistake of always thinking that the shadow is more real than our hand. Now, why do I say this? Because the Shloach Kodesh, the great rabbi, lived quite a few hundred years ago, tells us when you look at your hand, you make a mistake by thinking it's a hand. Well, that's a mistake. Your hand is not your hand, and your body is not your body. Oh, it belongs to you, but it's not a real body. That's what I want to say. It's not a real hand. So what is real then? Well, in scriptures, it tells us in the Torah that Hashem has hands. He has an arm, Zroa Nitsuya. He has all these features. And we're in the likeness of Hashem, B'Tselem Elokim. We're in the likeness of Hashem. So does Hashem really have a hand? No, he doesn't really have a hand because he's a spiritual being. He won't have a hand. That's not to say that the hand which is referred to Hashem is not real. The hand that he has is totally real, and the opposite is true, that your hand is not a real hand. Your hand is an image of his hand. Your hand is a shadow. That's why I said Tselem Elokim. Tselem means shadow. We're not in the image or the likeness, but translate as we are shadow of Hashem. Of Elokim, these forces. Elokim is plural, is multiple. It means forces, these 10 paradigms. We are fashioned like them. So whatever is considered to be a hand, now technically in Kabbalah we know Chesed is the hand. This is a reflection or a shadow of Chesed. I hope everybody's with me with that. It's very important to understand the depth of this wisdom over here, is that what we're going to be learning when you look at somebody, you're going to be looking at the Tselem Elokim, the shadow of Elokim, meaning the reflection of the power sources which source his neshama and his guf, those 10 paradigms. And that answers our next question. What's the benefit of learning this? The benefit of learning this is that we come closer to Hashem, because you learn how deep this wisdom is. because it's phenomenal. Just looking at a person, you can start telling you everything about them. How does that work exactly? We only know that if a person speaks or reveals what he's all about, then the person is revealing something. Otherwise, it's a closed book. Well, it's not that way, because everything is a revelation. Everything. That means even by the person just standing there, the shape of the person, the shape of the person's fingernails, the texture of the fingernails, the fingerprints, everything is revealing. In our holy books, it says that you can tell volumes of information about the under of the foot. Underneath the foot is also a signet, an impression. And there's crevices there, and there's pictures, and all different types of things under the toes. Volumes of information. You can tell everything about a person's lifetime just by looking at that aspect of the person. It's phenomenal. The wisdom is so, so deep that it would take us years really to cover this properly, but we're going to give a very short class. So I hope you understand the depth of what we're doing over here is that we're really discovering Hashem in ourselves. B'Tselem Elokim. We're looking at ourselves as a reflection of Hashem. That's where the source comes from, and that's how deep it is. The benefits are obvious. Once a person gets to see these character traits inscribed on their face, it's called a HaPartzuf. It's like a sculpture. You're sculptured in a particular manner. There's no two people on earth which are alike. Even Siamese twins are not totally alike. There's always some differences in fingerprints or something. That sculpture will reflect these powerful character traits, which are these 10 paradigms, in a way which is very unique to you. Because you might not understand why you love shopping, why you love meat more than you love cheese, why you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes, why this disturbs you and that doesn't disturb you. That might be all unknowns to you. You might get very aggravated, very upset with people because you don't understand people, where they're coming from, why they think in a particular way. But if you understand Chochmat HaPartzuf, you understand that these people have been ingrained and stamped with such a sculpture, such a character trait inside of them, that's the way they act. And once you understand that, you're able to work on that and say, okay, this is my innate feelings and motivations toward a particular subject. Either I'm lazy or I'm not lazy. I will work on that. I have a head start on myself. It's not something that makes me angry anymore because I'm treating it as a subject now, not as a failure. I'm not looking at myself as a failure, but rather I'm looking as deficient, and I'm here, be put on this earth to perfect myself. So once you understand your deficiencies and your negative traits, you're already a head start in building yourself into a better person. And also relationships in marriage and between your children, understanding your children better by looking at them and saying, oh, that's why he's that way. I can tell on his face. I can tell on the sketches of his hand. I can tell what he's all about. That's why he's doing what he's doing. That's why he's saying what he's saying. You're more lenient with people. So there's a lot of benefits there. Okay. I want to pause here just for a second and just see if there's any questions so far on anything that I've said. No? I don't know if you can unmute yourselves or you can put your fingers up if you know to do that. And I don't know if we have a chat either. Okay, so it looks like, okay, everybody is good. All right, so we'll continue now. Now let's talk about the origins of Chochmat HaPartzuf. Again, we're not learning it with the way other religions learn it, but rather we're going to learn it with the way it's learned from the Torah. Okay, so let's first talk about the Torah. Where is it found in the Torah? So let me tell you a little story, those who are not familiar. In Parshas Yisro, it is mentioned that Yisro came up to Moshe Rabbeinu and said to him, you know what? You're in the desert. and there's millions of people here, and you're the only judge, and there's always arguments here. Wherever you find two Jews, you're going to find arguments, especially about money. So they're always arguing, and you're there from morning to night, night to morning, judging everybody. You're not going to manage. Better to choose people. Choose judges. Those are going to be in charge of hundreds. Those judges are in charge of 50. Those charging of 10. And Moshe Rabbeinu looked at him and said, well, how am I going to choose? How do I know who's a good judge? How do I know who's good, who's not good in this particular aspect? So Yisro, his father-in-law, said to Moshe Rabbeinu, you know what I'm going to tell you? Ata techezeh. I want you to look, mikol am, from all the people, and I want you to choose Anshe Chayil, Yirei Elokim, Anshe Emes, Sonei Betza, Samta Alehem Sari Alofim, Sari Ma'ot, Sari Chamishim, Sari Asorim. So I want you to look at these people and choose people of value. Okay. And the story continues that he chose people. And that was it. He established a whole network of Jewish judges, and everything was smooth, and the advice was well taken. That's on the surface. Now, the Zohar explains to us deeper what this concept means. What means ata techazeh? The Zohar, by the way, those who don't know, was written thousands of years ago. It's one of our great Kabbalistic works. In the Zohar, says as follows, that this great Chochmat to Emes was passed over of Chochmat to HaPartzuf, this face reading that we spoke about, was already given to Adam HaRishon. I have it underlined over here. Solot elo nimsu le Adam HaRishon. And it was even given to the greatest and the wisest man that we know, Shlomo HaMelech, also. Also, Moshe Rabbeinu was given this great, great thing. So getting back to the Zohar says that when Yitro told Moshe Rabbeinu, look at these men, he was saying, look deeply into their faces, look into their eyes, look into their features, look at their hair, and you'll be able to know what their character traits are. You'll be able to read them, and through that you'll be able to see whether they're qualified for the job. And by the way, this is another great benefit in interviewing people, or even if you're going on a shidduch and you want to know more about the person, you just look at these traits on the person's face and you'll be able to know everything about them. But anyways, so that's what he did. He interviewed people. Moshe Rabbeinu interviewed all these judges, potential judges, and he was able to see. So Yitro had taught him partially how to learn it. And the Zohar actually goes on to say that Moshe Rabbeinu had difficulty to understand, but how does this work exactly? And the Shekhinah itself, the holy Shekhinah, came to teach him exactly how to do it. Okay? Now, there's another pirush. Oh, Malka, you have a question?
No, just a curiosity. Yitro was not a Jew. He came from an immoral society.
That's true. But he converted, right? He saw the value of what the Jews were doing. He saw how authentic and pure that they were, and decided, I'm going to convert and drop everything that I'm doing in order to follow them. And he was an extremely wise man. And because he was a wise man, he was able to counsel the king of the Jews, Moshe Rabbeinu. You imagine, to show you the power of somebody who wants to convert for the right reasons is taken to be very seriously. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rabbi Mimran, I have a question.
Yeah, Ira.
Yeah. So the Ramak says over there that Adam HaRishon and Shlomo were able to do it because the shorish of their neshama was from Chochma and from Yesod. But Moshe was from Das, and therefore he had to be taught by the Shekhinah. I don't know where the shorish of my neshama is from. And if the Shekhinah would teach me, that would be really good. So those are some of the questions going through my head now. So
right. Now, no, that's a good point. I want to talk to you about this as well, because whatever now this is very important. Listen to what I'm saying, everybody. Whatever I'm going to be teaching today, it's based on a scale, meaning I'll be teaching you, for example, this person has a big nose. Okay. Now, a big nose means this and that, this and that. Now, that's very arbitrary. Now, how big is big? I didn't give you, it has to be 2 centimeters by 4. I'm not going to give you the dimensions. It really depends on proportion to the person's face. It depends on a lot of things. So the exact science we don't have. We have an average of what these signs mean, what the Zohar tells us. We can definitely read them. We understand them, but to have the perfect science, we don't. Moshe Rabbeinu was taught the perfect science. There's a big difference, Ira. You understand what I'm saying over here? We're going to get an appropriate and an estimation of what these signs are telling us, which gives us a good head start, though. Very, very powerful tools, but we're not going to get the exact science. Go ahead, Reuven. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, in the Zohar, where was that talking about the HaPartzuf? Is it the regular Zohar, or?
Yeah, it's in the regular Zohar in Parshas Yisro.
Oh, in Israel. Okay.
Yeah, Daf Ayin, from Daf Ayin to Daf Ayin Ches. That's where the Chochmat HaPartzuf is. Okay, we'll speak about that. But I wanted to tell you that besides the Zohar, there's a beautiful pirush on the Zohar called the Or Chama. The Or Chama was written by a great Kabbalist called Rav Mimran, which was the great-great-grandfather of the Chida. Those who knows the Chida, he was a great rabbi. He was very famous, wrote millions of books and traveled the world, fundraised for all Eretz Yisrael. In 1643, he wrote a pirush called Or Chama, which is probably the best pirush that I've seen on this piece of the Zohar. So those who want to look, and what we're going to be talking is a lot from what he said. Okay. Now, in his pirush, he draws a lot of diagrams. Look at these diagrams. With the eyebrows, he talks about the eyebrows. He talks about the shape of the lines. He talks about the hair. The Zohar talks about the hair. What about the hair? How does the hair look? Is the hair long? Is the hair wavy? Is the hair coarse? Is the hair thin? He talks about the lines between the eyes. Look at this picture over here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. The lines between the eyes, the lines on the side of the eyes. The eyes have lines on this side, here in the middle. What does that mean exactly? He talks about the crevices over here, the ripples on your forehead. What does that mean? Are they connected? Are they separate? There's so many millions of details, but it's a beautiful pirush. Look at this. It looks so mystical over here. He's talking about all different types of facets. Now, it's not only the Or Chama. I have Svarim before the Or Chama. He was in 1643, but in 650 CE, you have Rav Hai Gaon, part of the Gaonim, which is before the Rishonim. They wrote pirushim on this as well, on the ozen, on the shape of the ears, the shape of the mouth. Shrira Hagon, which was his father of Hai Gaon, was the son. They both wrote beautiful pirushim on Chochmat Kabbalah as well. In the 14th century, you have a sefer which is very similar to the pirush of the Gaon, and there in the Sefer HaRifruf, in the 14th century, also we find references to different aspects of a person's hands, different aspects, all different. I don't know. Somebody is mute him over here. Okay, how you doing, Moshe? Okay, that's Sefer in the 14th. That is a Rishon, and then you have the Divrei Chachamim, very famous Sefer as well. Which is already, I think, a contemporary. Look at these pictures of the hand, very much in our tradition. You have another sefer over here, Shoshanis Yaakov, very famous, brought down in a lot of Svarim in 1686. Talks about, again, the color of the eyes, the color of the hair. Everything is significant. Everything is significant. The shape of the nose, the shape of the forehead. Is the forehead round? Is the forehead square? All these have to do with the great deep Kabbalah of Chochmat Emes. And let's not forget about Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid. Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, very famous rabbi that we use a lot of what he says. He talks about this as well in Siman Kuf Samech Beis, those who want to look at it. He talks about every part of the body. In every part of a person's body will tell volumes of information about the entire life of a person can be found just by looking at a person. You look at a person, wow, you can see everything about a person's life. That's what Yehuda al-Chassid says over here. You have also another sefer over here. It's cut off over here. I can't see it. What the name of it is. That's Rav Yehuda Chassid. And then you have the Medrash Talpiot. Famous Medrash Talpiot written in 1736. Also references to the shape of the head. How big is the head? Small the head. Is the head pointing forwards? Is the head pointing backwards? How high is the head? The shape of the jaw. All these different references all over here. Chochmat, HaPartzuf, V'Shartutim, a sefer called Gilui Da. We're not familiar with this. These are not types of svarim you'll find in yeshiva, but in 1759, talks about, again, this notion of every part of the body tells volumes about the metzach. We know the Arizah talks a lot about seeing the lights of the letters coming out. And that tells you a lot of information about a person, is the depth of his neshama, gilgulim. That's by the metzach. You see over here, otot metzach, very powerful. And then you have a sefer over here called Devak Ach Me'ach, in 1878. Also from the Chakiras, they spoke about a question, a very philosophical question. But if everything is written in a person, his past, present, and future, you can tell by looking at the person, where's the free choice? Look over here, written in red. B'chakiras Chazal, im yediasa Hashem Yisbarach muchach, or no. That means, is there destiny or is it not destiny? If there's destiny, where's free choice? If everything's written in a person, there's no more destiny, is there? Everything's written out. Another very famous sefer that's brought down by a lot of people is by Reb Aaron Leib Biska, published in 1888 in Russia. Another sefer over here, 1894. In the medieval times, again, Simane Sara, Simana Zaken, how long is the beard? What color is the beard? Another sefer, Telepia, with telepathy, Rabbi Eliezer Pinkel, in 1904. And what you'll see over there is that they compare people to animals. Now, it's interesting. That's a very interesting concept, but look at these pictures, by the way. Look, in the medieval times, look at the Roman times, not medieval. Roman, look at these pictures of people with the Roman signets, flowers in the men's hair. That's how old these pictures are. That people are compared to eagles. People are compared to giraffes, the lions. Why? Because we know the character traits of a lion. A lion's a leader. A lion is forceful. A lion is powerful. So if a person has a HaPartzuf over here to the right over here, a face looking like a lion, that can tell you a lot of things. It's interesting how they compare people to animals, which is fascinating. That has to be taken into consideration as well. Look at these pictures over here. It's absolutely amazing. Again, look at how ancient these pictures are from the Roman times. And this from the medieval times. Again, they'll tell you everything about the shape of an ear. Is it round? Is it square? Is it flat? Is it long? Does it have an earlobe? No earlobe. Just to show you that Tselem Elokim, the power of Hashem, the way he made the person is not random. Everybody thinks a person is random. He happens to be that way. No, your height is already, everything's been decreed. Until Ad Kedei Kach, like I told you, the Rishonim are asking, so where's the destiny? Where's the Bechira? If you're already planted with your entire past, present, future already inscribed in you, how are you going to have your free choice in Schava Onish? And this as well, underneath the foot, this is what I was telling you. Underneath the foot speaks volumes. You could spend an entire months looking. And actually, I met somebody in Eretz Yisrael. It's a funny story. Somebody told me that somebody he knows was living in Hanof at the time. I don't know if he's still alive, but he said that he can look at the underneath of your feet and tell you everything about you and your future. And I said, I got to see this. So I went to this person's house and Kachaya. I'm sitting with the person. It's so uncomfortable. The guy tells me, okay, take off your shoes and your sock and stick your feet on the table. I said, what? Is this really going to happen? He said, yeah. So there I go. Took off my feet and sock, my socks and my shoes and my socks. I put my feet on the table. And then he starts squeezing my toes, and don't ask what he did. It was killing me. But at the end of the day, he gave me an accurate information about who I am. I never met this person in my life. And I said, where'd you get this chochmah? He said it was passed down from his grandfather, his grandfather, his grandfather. So a lot of people receive this great wisdom of, in his line, was to read the underneath of a person's foot. Incredible. Like I told you, every part of the body has volumes. The nail, the way the nail is formed, is it square? Is it round? Does it have lines going down, or does it have vertical or horizontal lines going down? Okay. Now, we learn it. The way we learn it is with the different paradigms, as I explained, the 10 sfirot. This is a picture of a very Kabbalistic picture we're not going to go into because I see a lot of people here are not versed in Kabbalah, but it has to do with how the face, we're going to look primarily in two different areas. We can spend literally a year learning this subject in depth, but we're not. It's just an overview. We're going to learn the face, the Chochmat, the HaPartzuf, and the Chochmat Yad, how to read the hands and the face. And this has to do because of the 10 paradigms, the 10 Esses Sfirot Chakuk, which are implanted into the face and into the hands, because you can have 10 spheres within here and 10 all over. That's what we're going to be talking about. So let's start. Is everybody ready? All right, let's talk about we talked about the whys and why it's important, what's the sources. Now we're going to talk about some practical facts and figures. And I want you can you're free to take notes, write these notes up, and then at the end, hopefully we have time, I'm going to test you. Okay, I'm going to see whether you really know your stuff or not. I'm going to give you examples of people's faces. And I'm going to ask you to read these people's faces. And by the way, by the end of this class, you're not going to look at a person the same way ever again. Okay, first thing you're going to be doing is looking at the person's nose and mouth and ears and start saying, oh, you. But it's going to be an interesting experience. Now, before I do that, I do want to read the Or Chama. The Or Chama says clearly that all this that we're learning, that everything is found in our Torah, and everything by definition, anything found in our Torah is holy. And I described for those who came late, just a quick mention, that we're learning this mitzad kedusha, for the holiness that attaches us and makes us recognize that we're b'tselem Elokim, which has its shoresh in the 10 sfirot in the Or Ein Sof. Okay, so that's important to understand that. Now, let's start. Now, in no particular order, we're going to start with the legs, but then we're going to move to the face and the hands. We'll see where it goes from here. What happens? Now, we'll find. Now, again, I'm going to talk about in generality. Long legs as opposed to short legs. Now, you can have people with medium legs and so on and so forth. But we know, I'm not going to give you in this class measurements, okay, because it's impossible. It depends on the height of the body compared to the legs. The legs as opposed to everybody's legs in that country. Some countries people are very short, some countries people are very tall. In general, when you see in your concept, in your mind, that a person's legs are long, you have to understand that he likes to sit down. You'll know by that person, by looking at the person, that that person likes to sit down. You have short legs, you have to know that it's hard for him to sit down. Okay, hard for him to sit down, because a person with short legs likes to move around, has a lot of power, has a lot of energy. That's the way it's built. Now, I challenge you to look out after this class, write these notes down, and look around people. And if you find that I've said anything wrong, come back to me, please. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, because I've seen this in my own life, and all my experiences when I look at people and I say, this is so consistent, and what I've learned from the Zohar and all these other places, that this is really a fixed science over here. Okay, so look out for this. When you meet people, and for example, if a person has short legs and you tell them to sit down, I want to give you a class for 2 hours, it's not going to happen. Okay, because you'll be sitting, jumping up in the seat within a half an hour, within 15 minutes. Okay, so don't try to force people with short legs to sit down for a long time. Next, let's move on to the eyes. Again, this is only an introduction. We're going to go very quickly through these traits, but you'll get a good idea where we're going with this. The eyes. Now, the eyes are made up at 2 points, okay? Now, just get technically, there's an iris and there's a pupil. The iris is the color of the eye, and the pupil is the black of the eye. Okay, everybody got me there? Now, underneath the iris, you'll find that what? If a person's really tired and more under stress, you'll find there's white underneath the eye. White underneath the eye. Now, it depends how stressed the person is. If the person's semi-stressed, you'll find under one eye, white. That means when a person's looking at you straight, not talking looking up, I'm talking when the person's looking at straight, you'll find under a person's eye white. The white of the eye will be showing like this. Okay? Will be showing underneath the eye. Now, if a person's very stressed, you'll find that under both eyes are showing white under the eyes. Now, a third level is when a person has bloodshot with 2 eyes. That person's gone through a trauma. That's good to know. Sometimes you meet a friend in the street, you say, hi, how are things? And the person doesn't look well, but you can't tell what's happening with the person. If you meet such a person with white under his eye, he's going through a tremendous, tremendous pressure, traumatic time, and there to help. You have to go and help them immediately, even to the hospital. Let's continue. Let's talk about the eyes. Where are they set on your face? Because you'll find that there are 3 different general types of eyes. One which are flush with the cavity of the eye. One which is more set inwards. And another one which is totally set in. Now, what does this mean exactly? Now, again, I challenge you. I challenge you to go out and look at people or look at your spouse or whatever and tell me whether I'm wrong with this or not. But when you see, Chochmat speaks about this. When we see a person with the eyes are set outwards and sometimes even bulging, they're very divulging people. They open up to you very, very well. You can get anything out of them. You can speak to them and they'll tell you the whole life story. The further the eyes are set into their eyes, the more secretive they are. So you have people with very, very deep set things. You won't get a secret out of them. You won't get anything out of them. They're always hiding something, not in a harmful way, but rather they're hiding things because that's in their nature. Their neshama has it from these 10 paradigms, have it in their DNA that they don't release information. You should know that. So there's no point forcing somebody. Tell me. Look at the person's eyes, and you'll be able to know whether you're going to get any information from this person, whether this person is hiding aspects of their life or not. If you see a person with set eyes which are set outwards, I can have a nice long conversation and I'll know this person inside out by the fact that this person is a very revealing person. Okay? Any questions so far? We're good? Let's continue. Now, what happens, you have different types of people that have sometimes eyes very close to the bridge of the nose and sometimes wider. Wide and close. So when the eyes are close together, they can become very irritable, very close, very, very quickly. When the eyes are set wide, they're very, very tolerant. They're very easygoing. And why is that so important? Again, when you're dealing with people or dealing with a child, you know how far to push a person. When you know the person's eyes are, you can see clearly the eyes are set wide, you can tell that you could push the person for information or whatever quite a distance and you can get a good response. But a person's eyes are very inset, not inset as inside the thing, but close together, I want to say narrow. You have to know that there's going to be limits there. You're going to push the tolerance level and then things are going to get out of scale. Okay. And amazing. They think about what we're saying over there. It's amazing information just by the eyes, all related to the Chochmat being on das of a person. Now, this is a famous one. I don't know if other, again, I don't know other religions, how they interpret this tradition. They also have traditions of face reading, but we interpret like this as humor lines, as I showed you pictures from Or Chama, Avram Azulai. Those lines on the side will show you whether the person has a sense of humor. Okay. You can see mine are quite big. Mine are quite big. I have a great sense of humor. I love humor. So you can know whether you're going to have, you can sit down with a glass of wine and tell good jokes with a person, or you know that this person has a very nonsensical and you won't get any laughs from this person whatsoever. Okay, so it's good to know your customers. Now, again, on the eyes, when you observe the eyes, if one eye is higher than the other, let me show you a picture. See, the arrow over here is showing you the eye should be on the same level, but the right eye over here, where my cursor is, a bit higher than the left eye. Okay, a bit higher than the other eye. So that will show you a sort of judgmental type of attitude with the person. Now, we're all judgmental. That's true. But some are conventional and some are unconventional. Some are out-of-the-box thinkers. I'm not talking about creative mind, but I'm talking about the way a person forms his judgment is not the usual way a person forms a judgment. Usually form judgment, you take pros and cons and you make a very conventional decision between yes or no. But sometimes you'll find decisions which are based with not much logic there. They're judgments, but not conventional judgments. I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying. They're very creative in their own ways. They think differently. I think we've all met, not often, but met people like this, that it's hard to understand where they're coming from. It's like coming from another space or something, not conventional people. So when you look deep into their eyes, you'll look, first of all, are the eyes bulging? Are you going to look whether the eyes are forward, backward? Are they on the same level? That's going to give you already more information. So see where we're going with this. The more information, the more traits you can gather up, the better of a picture you can get of a person. Okay. Now this is a very good one as well. Now the eyes, again, when you're looking straight, remember the eyes are they say the opening, the window to the soul. And we said the soul comes from the 10 spheres. When you see the eyes slanting downwards, okay, you see what I'm doing with my fingers here, you're slanting downwards like the picture to the left, as opposed to the eyes slanting upwards will tell you also a lot of interesting information. Eyes slanting down is a very critical person, negative, very negative person, always looking at the situation in a negative tone. When the eyes are slanting upwards, a person is much less critical, looking very optimistically at things as opposed to very negatively. Now, I want to put this disclaimer here, right here and then. Now, what I'm saying to you is status quo. Now, everybody understand what it means by status quo. Status quo means that what I'm telling you is a general explanation of a person. That does not include the fact that a person has worked on themselves and changed his character trait. So this is a perfect example. When I'm telling you, when you look at a person, you see their eyes are drooping downwards, it's a very critical person. You're going to tell me, well, Rabbi, listen, you're wrong. I have a friend, her eyes are really droopy, and she's so positive, and she's so cheery, and everything's so optimistic. You know what I'm going to tell you? She worked on herself. Ask her what she had to do to get to that. Was she always positive? Was she always very, very open-minded? She'll probably tell you, and I'm convinced of this, she'll tell you, no, I was very negative at the beginning. And as a child, it worked against me. But I worked on myself. I realized that what I was doing was wrong. I was looking at the half empty glass and not half full glass. And I worked on myself and I changed. You see where I'm going with this? So what I'm telling you now are what should be with that person. I'm not saying what the person, now you can like your free choice. The Gemara says, when you're born in the mazal, in the astrological sign of Odom, of blood, then you're going to be a killer. It's in your soul. That's your astrological sign. But the Gemara says you can use that to become a doctor, or a shochet, or a moel. So you don't have to necessarily use it for the negative. You can use it for the positive. For example, another good example is this critical person would be an amazing editor, because this person with the drooping eyes is very critical. But when they look over your work, they'll be able to pick up all the mistakes and make your book or whatever, your article, your blog, into an amazing piece. You don't want the person with the eyes pointing upwards, because they'll look at everything in a good way. They won't tear apart your blog or your whatever you're writing in a very critical way. So it works both ways. So keep it open-minded. So what I said right here applies to everything I'll be saying and what I've said so far. Okay? Is that clear? Yes? No? We're good? Okay, I'll take that as a good sign. Let's continue. Now remember, part of the eye, there's two parts of the eye. There's the iris and there's the pupil. I'm talking about now the iris. What happens? You have very long, very big eyes, meaning the iris fills up a lot of the space of the white. You barely see any white in the eye. Well, you can know that the person is very expressive with their feelings. Very open. Very, very open. The person is expressive, open, and you can speak to that person. You can have a nice conversation with that person. If you see the eyes are very small and you see more white in the eyes than you see eye, you know that the conversation is going to be very, very, very short to the point. Okay? Again, like I said, test it out for yourself and come back to me. Now, have you ever noticed that a person has lines coming down? You can see mine over here. The lines coming down between the eyes. Now, sometimes you'll find one line. Sometimes you'll find two lines. And now there's no accidents over here. There is absolutely no accidents. Every time you find a line between the eyes, you'll find that they are very exacting. A person is very exacting and very also analytic, very analytic. It depends how many lines are there. And another rule, now keep this in mind, this rule again will apply to everything that we say. The deeper the lines, then the more exaggerated the traits. I repeat, the deeper the lines, the more exaggerated the traits and the more pronounced it will be. So when I say this person's analytical, he has two lines and is able to look at things in a very technical manner. If the lines are deep, you'll know that he's an expert at it. And if they're not so deep, he's good, but he doesn't analyze, doesn't pull everything to its depth. Okay? If there's only one line and it's deep, another degree. One line and not so deep, less degree. No lines, not so analytical. Prefers to look at the bigger picture as opposed to the details. Okay? That is very important. Now, again, challenge me, please. Find people with lines that you know, or even if you don't know, and start talking to them and see. I want some feedback. Now, again, the eyes. Now, this is also, I want you, it's an amazing thing. I love this chokhmah. I want you look out for people with a cover over their eyelids. That means, you know what the eyelids, these are the eyelids, right? These are the eyelids. I'll take off my glasses. These are the eyelids. Now, when your eyes are open, do you see the person's eyelids or not? That's the question. There are people, when you look at them, you don't see their eyelids. They have a fold over their eyelids. Let me see, do I have a picture? Yes. Okay. You have a fold over the eyelids. So over here to the left, you don't see this person's eyelids. They're totally covered. Look to the right over here where my cursor is. The eyelids are open and you can see the eyes are open and the eyelids is revealed. The person to the left, very critical, very high analytics, goes into depth, can split hairs. Everything is complicated for the person. The person thinks always in well, I won't say in an unconventional way, but always dissects the information you're going to tell them. The person to the right will take it at face value. The person to the left will be able to discuss in length about something, whether it's philosophy, and especially in the learning of Torah, pilpulim, dissect things left, right, and center, logical, long arguments. The person on the right wants to know the bottom line. Listen, I can't be bothered. Just tell me as it is. What is the final halacha? Okay? Look out for this as well. Look out for this as well. Okay? I think this is the last one we're going to be doing right now because I think we run out of time. I have over maybe 150 of these slides, so we're not going to manage. We're going to have to stop here. But let's talk about the last one: lines under the eye. Lines under the eye. It's told. Now this is you're going to have to check as well. Are writer's lines. We're not talking about the bags under your eyes. When a person gets tired, he has bags under the eyes, these folds under the eye. We're not talking about that. We're talking about specific lines under the person's eyes that you always see it's there. Not one day it's there, one day it's not there. These are writer's lines. This person has a koach to be able to write beautifully on paper. Well, nowadays on the computer. Words just flow in the person's mind. The person sees in words, talks in words. It's very prolific in the way the person speaks and writes. They're able to put things on paper. Okay? So if you see a child with these type of lines, it's not because they're getting old and have bags under their eyes, but rather recognize their talent as maybe they're very talented in writing. Put them to the test. Encourage them. Okay? So, okay, so I think we're going to really have to stop here. It's already past the hour. So, all right, we're going to have to stop it here. So I hope you enjoyed part 1 of our class. And we'll have to fix the time with Ira or Ariel to find out next week when we can do another class. So I'm going to pause here.
Yeah. I'm just at some Israeli rally. Sorry to hear you here.
Okay.
I'll talk to you afterwards. You know what I mean? You'll talk to me after the class.
Okay. Very good. Anybody
Yeah,
has?
Yeah, like in a few hours after the rally. Yeah.
Reuven?
Yeah, in the past, the rabbi passed out or emailed out notes, the slides. Is that possible to do?
Bli neder. It's a little bit more complicated now because they're not really set. I'm still working on them, so I don't want to really send them out before I finish all the last details to it. But Bli neder.
Okay, and the Rav said we're going to do palm reading also.
Yeah. I want to get to that. There's a lot of information there. It's a beautiful chochma over there. It's based on technical analysis and also through intuition, based again on the Zohar. Zohar brings down Chochmat's Ayad. It's called Chochmat. Yeah, it's brought down also in all the Svarim that I showed you at the beginning, from Rav Haigon, or Chama. All of them speak about the our Jewish tradition of palm reading.
Rabbi Mimran, can you hear me?
Who's that?
Ira Hisler.
Right. Hi, Ira.
Well, I just have one really, I think, important question, because at the beginning you put down all the Meforshim, started to ask, well, if you can see everything, then where is Bechira? And then you give examples, well, even though the face doesn't show something, it means that they chose to change that Nida. So the face is lying. Well, if the face can lie, then what was their Shaila? What was their question? Where is the Bechira? Well, the face doesn't always tell everything.
No, that was the answer, right? The question was, if everything is fixed on a person's face, that means all the character traits are already there, and therefore that will lead them to a particular predestined future. Right. So where's the free choice in there? Well, the answer is that I can work on myself, and I can have an alternative future. Okay. It's not fixed in grain, and I don't call that lying. I call that is your HaPartzuf, and that is your innate reaction character trait, that you are a very analytical person, or for example, you have a very short thumb, which indicates you get angered very quickly. You can work on that. They'll come back to you, though. It's very hard to work on this forever. So it's not lying. You have that potential to become a very angry person very quickly with that short thumb, but that doesn't negate the fact that you can change that temporarily.
Right. My follow-up is, so if you do work on it and you do change it, at some point does it change your HaPartzuf as well, or not?
That's very possible. Yeah, that needs a lot of work. That means it has to be really, really work to the point where it doesn't come back at all. That's exceptional. Anybody else?
Oh, Rob, I wanted to know, are any of these books in English?
Not that I know of.
No? Okay. Because I feel like I really relate to this a lot. So I don't know. I feel like maybe some of my Shoresh Neshama or a previous Gilgal of mine has learned this before, and I just feel like it's instinctive in a way. And it's very cool. I want to learn it more in detail. Well, again, I guess.
We're going to set up a time to continue these classes, since there's interest. Anybody else before we sign off? Okay, great. So we'll be in contact with Ariel for the next class.
Yeah, I have a few other friends who joined, like Alina. She was another friend of mine. She was on earlier. She joined, Dina. And then I missed, some other stuff. Yeah.
So wishing everybody a great day, and we'll see you next time. All the best.
Yeah, sounds,
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yeah, sounds good then.
Toda Rabba, Rabbi. I also came with Ariel. He invited me. I'm Rivka. Shalom.